everybody. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. I'm putting up a video. I wouldn't say chewed out, but I get questions all the time why I don't show people how to do stuff. It's because the videos get super long. This one is probably going to be a little long, but I'm going to show you how I plaster over here, what I use, how I mix it, and show you how it looks going on over the plaster cloth that I use. And we've already gone over in video, I believe 17, about the plaster cloth that I use. But I just finished up out here, and I'm going to show you how I do it, and I'm going to show you something that I just started doing that I think is going to look kind of cool. But here we go. Okay, gang, I'm going to mix up another batch of plaster, and I'm going to try and set you up so you can, in fast motion, watch what I do. This is gypsylite. We sell it. It's by Scenic Express. It is my preferred plaster. And then shaper sheet plaster is what I mix with it, the Woodland Scene shaper sheet plaster, to make it go further. This is the coarseness of stuff that I filter out of it. It's got texture in it, as you can see, but it's a little bit much for my taste. But I save that over there because then if I want to put some, like running in a canyon down a hill or something, I can put it in there. It's already got plaster on it. So, and then I also fill this up about halfway with water. I'll do that when I get out there. I mix the plaster with a paint stick, and I usually use two cheap brushes, one narrow, one wide, and a large spray bottle. And I am no longer mixing that paint with it. And I was using plaster of Paris, but I think the plaster of Paris also decides to set up a little bit too fast. But the ratio I use is probably about 60-40, 60% gypsylite and 40% shaper sheet plaster. It just makes the plaster a little smoother and a little bit easier to put on, in my opinion. So let's go do some plaster. Okay, everybody, here's my setup. Here's how much plaster I make. It winds up being about half of one of these large butter dishes. And as you can see, it's about that consistency. Little soupy. Here's my water. Don't know what I did with my brush. Oh, here's my brushes. And my Zep spray bottles. I buy these at automotive stores because they're much more longer lasting than those little water bottles. And I took the train off the track because I didn't think I'd be able to avoid getting plaster all over it. So what we're going to do here is we're going to keep working our way down this way and see where we get to. I rolled up a piece of newspaper, and you can see it back in there. And that keeps the plaster from falling back on that track in the back. I'm sure I'll have to do some cleaning back there anyway, but it's not a problem right now. So we will see how it goes. But I'll set you up and we'll take a look. Okay, gang, there's a lot of noise outside. The kids next door just got a new swimming pool. So you'll hear them, maybe. It's okay. It's a good thing to hear kids having fun outside in today's world. So I am happy they have it. They're having a blast. Now, I usually do in sections, and you can see that I obviously do. I was questioned whether I wet down the plaster cloth, and actually you can see that I do. I think I'm going to start with the small brush. I don't really have any set place to go. I just look at what I need to do and start. One thing I do that you saw right there is any place there's a crease in the plaster cloth, I try and fill the crease with this plaster. It wastes a lot of plaster, so I try to get most of that out when I'm putting the plaster cloth down. And then I'm starting out with the small brush because I'm going kind of like tight in over here. And I have a little spot of plaster cloth here I don't really like. So we're going to push that down. You can make all kinds of adjustments as you go. I'm going to try and bring the plaster up to the bridge pier. So it's going to require a little bit of plaster in there. What I do is put the plaster low and push it up. The plaster's kind of thin, so you kind of have to work it a little bit until it develops a little bit of like surface tension, or if you can get some off of the side of the bowl that's not quite so thin, you might be able to get it up there. That doesn't seem to want to stay, so I think what I'll do is I'll wait until I get down towards the bottom of this, and I'll wait until it gets a little bit thicker, if it does. And if it doesn't, I'll wait till I mix up some thicker plaster. Now you can see that I'm going up and underneath the back of the bridge at this point. There's no set way to do any of this stuff. You just have to do what works. And what works for me is taking it as it comes. Now this bridge pier over here is a little bit better shape. You can't, I know you guys can't see it, but it's a little easier to work with. There's no void there. So it's pretty easy to get the plaster in there. And because this bridge in between these two bridges here kind of sits up on a little piece of foam, I'm just gonna fill that in some so that it doesn't just look like a straight up piece of foam. That's what I'm trying to say. Now in the back here, it's going to take some work, and I may have to go back and do some more work back behind here, because I do have a hole back there, although I think it's not going to show. And if it does show, anything that does show that you don't like, go back and fix it. They make plaster every day. At least so far. Now, I don't know what I'm going to do here, and I don't know what I'm going to do around the bridge there, so I'm going to bypass plastering anything underneath, directly underneath the trestle. So we're just going to keep working our way up here, and it's not going to be too long here. I'm going to have to change to a bigger brush. And it's going to be a little bit of a problem back in there because there's a pretty good inset back there in the back. Hi. My lovely wife has come to visit me and see what I'm doing, and I'm showing guys how to plaster.
Oh, okay. Well, have fun.
Well, thanks. You too.
All right.
Thanks for coming out and checking on me.
Okay.
You can see that this here goes pretty fast. It takes a little bit of care back here because I don't want to slop a lot back over the back. there's places you got to be careful, and there's places you can haul butt, as they say. Well, as I say, maybe everybody doesn't say it. But you can see, I think you can see a little void right there between the two pieces of plaster cloth. I just go back the opposite way and fill that. And I don't let it bother me. And the plaster's just gonna, this is just paper up here on the very top. And I'm just gonna leave it that way. If it breaks off or something, it breaks off. You know, it's not, I mean, nobody's going to be back here. So we'll put plaster on there and hope that the plaster just holds the shape on the paper. Because really that's all you're looking to do is just make everything hold its shape while you're putting plaster on. So now you can see that we've gone across the top edge. And if I can get behind the bridge here, not exactly sure how I'm going to get up in there. And all that soldered, I might have to cheat a little bit, bend the bridge over. Don't really like the idea, but God, we must do what we must do. And I am getting it filled as much as I can. Also, one thing you might see me doing here is when you're trying to fill a void like that in a difficult spot, don't be afraid to run the brush sideways and drag the plaster sideways. It likes to stick better that way for some reason. As the moisture's being pulled out of it when it gets onto the plaster cloth. So don't be afraid to do that either. Don't be afraid to use your brush to manipulate the plaster. Now, I like using this plaster because when I keep my my little brush in the water when I'm not using it. I'm going to go to the big brush and we're going to make some headway here really pretty fast. So hang on one second. And we can start, like I said, we can start anywhere we want. My plaster's getting a little dry down here. Also, if you look at this, you can see this brush striations in there. All you do is hit it with a little water. Takes them right out of there. Just a tiny bit of water. Now, as you can see, my brain is going, but my hands are just going where they want to go. So we're going to work our way up. And I have a little tiny hole back there, but I don't know if I'm going to mess with it or if I'm going to put a bush in it when I get done. I think I'll put a bush or something in it, unless it gets real bad. But like I say, this is all, it just all turns out the way it wants to be. Not the way you want it to be, but the way it wants to be. So don't ever think that you're just going to put a bunch of plaster on something and it's going to look exactly like what you have in your head. Because nothing, in my opinion, on a model railroad comes out all the time 100% like it is in your head. When it all comes together, it'll be a version of what you had in your head, but it won't be what you dreamed about. I guarantee it. If it does, you're building a layout too sterilely, in my opinion. Now I have a lot of little creases and cups down inside of here, and I'm just kind of, you can't really, I'm sure you guys can't really see it from that far away, but I'm just kind of filling the folds and stuff in with a little excess plaster because it looks better. It looks more realistic, okay? You don't see folds in scenery out in the wild, so to speak. But you can see that in a short amount of time here that I've had the camera on, which by the way I tried to do time lapse and I just don't know how to do it on my phone. And so I didn't want to not get the video. So the video's on regular speed and I will change the speed at will when I edit the video. So what you'll hear is you'll hear me talking like this, and then you'll hear probably a bunch of So I'm just going to plaster until I have something to say to you at this point. Okay, now we've used what we made up, and you can see how far we got. We got from like over here to almost over here. Um, that's how I do it. Everybody was on me about not showing how I do stuff. Well, that's how I do it. So I hope you enjoy this one, and we'll just do some more stuff as I go. I'm going to go wash these out. And yes, I wash them in my deep sink in the garage. I make sure it's plenty wet. I don't pour it in there in a glob. I dump it down the drain. And once I get done cleaning the brushes and everything out, I fill the deep sink about halfway up with water, hot water, and I let it go. And it'll wash that stuff right down. You know, I can see not wanting to do it in your actual house drain. But this drain is totally separate from our house drain, so I don't mind it too much. But I guess I wouldn't recommend putting it down your house drain. Okay, it doesn't come out too good on the camera, but you see this riprap that's coming down here? And it falls off the hill and it's gathering down here. And some over here. And some over by the trestle. Well, I mentioned in the video that I sift that texture out of the plaster for using it on N scale, because I think it's a little bit big for N scale. But what I will say is you throw it down on there and then you spray it a little bit with water, and I think that's going to make good riprap that, just in places around the layout to give a little bit of interest. I used quite a bit of it down in this canyon right here. We'll see how that turns out. But anyway, that was the other tip that I was going to give you. Instead of just throwing that stuff in the trash can like I had before, I'm trying to use it. And if you look up this draw, it looks pretty cool up in there, especially when you consider getting foliage and paint over it. But there you have it. That's it for this one. Well, there you have it, gang. I hope you enjoyed this one. It's just kind of a little how I plaster. And this is probably the last time that I'll ever be in this plastering stage. So I decided I better show some people exactly how I do it. It's been a while since I've said anything about it, since probably before the last layout even. But I hope you enjoyed this one, and as usual, thanks for watching.